Being that July was National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, I was asked to speak about my family's testimony dealing with mental illness this morning. You see, a few months ago, I was able to present our testimony to the ministers and staff of the church, and that was a true blessing to me. I do apologize if I get just a little emotional, as mental illness is not an easy topic to discuss, nor the effects that it has had on our family, but it's something that I'm passionate about. In June of 2013, Aaron was diagnosed with schizophrenia, which is considered the cancer of mental illness. This is a battle Aaron and our family have been fighting before the diagnosis was even given. I realized on that day that there was nothing I could do to cure him myself. From that day forward, I learned that I had to let go and just let God. And God had begun to stretch our faith. The many times I spent on my knees weeping to him, the questions came. I didn't know the answers to any of these questions. Growing up, Aaron was involved in school, church. He had several friends, made awesome grades, plays the piano and saxophone. He can write music, was top of his class, and had ACT and SAT scores that were outstanding compared to other students. And the list goes on and on. Basically, he had everything going for him. Before the diagnosis, Aaron hid himself away in his schoolwork, church, music, and friends, wondering why it was so easy for everyone around him to live life, but not him. You see, no one ever knew that this illness had crippled him so severely that he spent all hours of the day isolated in his room, trying so desperately to fight away the harsh sickness that had taken residence in his heart and mind. Aaron had endured 8 hospitalizations in the past 3 years, several treatments, psychiatrists, therapists, relapses, and cocktails of medications. At a time when Aaron was trying to understand his illness, it would have helped if a doctor had explained his mental illness in simple terms. When a person has diabetes, for instance, a doctor will sit down with them and explain what the disease is. Out of all the countless doctors over the years, and none of them ever explained that schizophrenia is a brain disorder and what the symptoms of his illness or treatment options were. I know that I'm not alone when I say that schizophrenia destroyed Aaron's relationships with his friends, academic record, his involvement at school, and much, much more. It stole time, friends, creativity, energy, and focus, and it stole his hard-earned work. It took away his plans for his future, and as difficult as mental illness is, what's more difficult is feeling stigmatized, ashamed, and alone. So if 1 out of every 4 people struggle with mental illness, then why have we felt like Aaron has been the only person who had ever experienced this before? If 25 of every 100 people we pass on the street have a clinical need for psychiatric care, then why did we feel like we had to hide his shaky hands every time the panic hit him harder than a train? Or he felt like he had to shove every suicidal thought on a shelf where no one could find them? Although there were hours of weeping spent on my bedroom floor telling God that there was no way I could do it to watch my son face the future this diagnosis demanded, we experienced numerous miracle moments of unexpected joy and supernatural strength. These supernatural notes from God showed up to remind us that He knows us enough to send someone to speak our language. In the dark of night, He also came Himself when it's just me and my weeping, my fears, my questions, my what-ifs, and why my son. The suffering caused me to become very real with my questions and aggressive with the questions of why. But God is understanding and was okay with me asking the same questions over and over. He responded to my heart that cried out to Him for answers that aren't so important anymore. God shows up through prayer, His word, His voice, and His presence. This sickness isn't going to destroy us. This sickness is difficult, but God is good. We have had a truly awesome network of believers, from family to friends to church and support groups that have surrounded us throughout this fight. We have accepted that God will show His goodness and love for us. Through this acceptance, we will still continue to ask for healing for Aaron. Our feet have moved us into a different world, where there are hurting people like us that need to know that they are seen by God, that there's hope, When we are willing to let God use our deepest pain to show His goodness to those watching, miracles begin to happen. And what a great message this would be for those who don't believe. His grace has been poured upon us. I used to wish for a God that would keep us out of suffering, but I have learned what a blessing it has been to know the one true God who has walked with us. Aaron is blessed because he is part of a church that shows love to even the least of them, and has a community of supporters that let us know that we're not alone. He is blessed because he has a brother and sister who love him unconditionally, and has family and friends and so many others who in their own individual way have weaved a support network so caring and strong that there was no chance of him ever falling through the cracks. You see, God has used our church family to save Aaron's life, so that Aaron may continue to walk even in his weakness, carried by God's strength, to use the gifts and talents that God has so graciously given him. The more we heal from the hurts of schizophrenia, the more we can express the amazing gifts that have resulted, and the more space we have to receive love. Love led us through the darkest day, and it's what we have held on to. Every day that Aaron screams no to the dark thoughts schizophrenia tries to tangle his mind with, Aaron is winning a battle that at times society has made easy to not win. We have learned a lot from this struggle. Every day is another day of waves of transformation. And as much as we wish it didn't hurt so when it hits Aaron, we can't say that we would change who he is or the struggles we have gone through. It's hard to find a place to end this, but I will end it with Isaiah 40:31. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength.